Chapter 1, in which Mr. Finchley's future seems to lack promise. Mr. Edgar Finchley, of Nassington Avenue, Hampstead, regarded his reflection in the dressing-table mirror with a seriousness that betrayed itself in the furrows across his broad forehead and the gentle, caressing movement of his thumb and fingers over a freshly shaven chin. Most men have occasional moods which drive them to a survey of themselves in their mirrors. Their reflection assists them to a clear, detached view of themselves, which is valuable, if not always flattering. Mr. Finchley wasn't depressed by his reflection. He was comforted by it, and it's a safe assumption that any man who is in his middle 40s and can look at himself in his mirror and find comfort there must be one to whom life has not been altogether unkind. He was bald. No, almost bald, Mr. Finchley amended, and his tonsure gave a canonical dignity to his head which is fitting to his well-filled figure and his unhurried carriage. His face was round and a little pudgy, a pudginess which few office workers could escape, but his skin had a healthy colour, although there was now no hint of the tan from his last summer's holiday. That holiday was 9 months away, and his next soon to come. As he eyed himself in the glass, Mr. Finchley was thinking neither of holidays nor his health. He was trying to see himself as others saw him. Now this is an exercise more common among women than men, and it needs practice to avoid the obvious pitfalls of under- and overestimation. Perhaps those who contemplate themselves most in their mirrors are the young, who cannot understand why so much that is fine and intelligent should go unrecognized. But when a bachelor who has an adequate income, who is over 40, and has a settled taste in ties and clothes, confronts his image, searching for an objective assessment of himself, there is, more often than not, only one impulse which has drawn him from the security of his pleasant hermitage. He's thinking of marriage. For the approach to marriage, and marriage itself, is largely concerned with what another person thinks about one. Mr. Finchley was no exception to this lax rule. As he eyed himself in the glass, he was thinking about marriage. He had thought about marriage increasingly in the last year. So far, he had never tried to aid his cogitations by contemplating his image at the same time. This conjunction of thought and imagery marked a very definite advance in Mr. Finchley's attitude towards marriage, for today he was going to do what, in some odd way, he had missed doing 20 years before. He was going to propose, and he was very well aware that, no matter what good opinion he might hold about himself, this would little affect what the other person might think about him. It was this uncertainty which worried him. A young man could take a rebuff, soothing himself by the reflection that young women often make mistakes which they regret. But a bachelor over 40 who is rejected by a widow of presentable person and very good sense has no such balm. He is judged, and must take his sentence with good grace and without hope of a reprieve. Mr. Finchley smoothed his chin for the last time, and then, selecting a grey silk handkerchief for his breast pocket, left the bedroom and went downstairs to be met by his housekeeper, Mrs. Patten, who had brushed his felt hat and was waiting with it and his stick and gloves. It was a fine evening in early May, and he needed no coat. There was something in the way with which Mrs. Patten handed him the stick and hat which suggested that she understood what he was about to do. She presented these insignia of respectability as though they were weapon and armour for his coming encounter, watching him take the balance of the stick and draw on one glove, as a squire might have regarded the knight he served. There was also a certain sadness in her manner, an unmedieval disapproval that seemed to say with surprise that even a man of his age could apparently be as foolish as a boy of 20. "Will you be coming back late?" she asked. "That," answered Mr. Finchley, "depends." Then, feeling he had revealed his anxiety, he added quickly, "That depends upon whether I stay to supper. You needn't wait up for me." "I'll not worry about you," said Mrs. Patten, opening the door for him. And as he went down the garden path, she said to herself, for she was very fond of him, "And I wish you luck."